Hello, good morning. Well, I thought I would do something a little different today. I know a lot of folks, a lot of young people, and a lot of new people in the animation business need all of the help. We certainly need to help one another. And as I have was helped by a lot of really talented artists as I was coming up as an animator, I'm definitely very happy to share and if I can in any way help some of you new people in the business who are interested in how things were for us when we were going through the animation world and learning, that it might be of some help to you now. And so I'm hoping that this will be a little bit of a help. And if it works out, then I think I may do more of this sort of thing. Perhaps I'll start something in a direction like this as a training thing. Um, for those of you who are new to the animation business, or for those of you who don't even know who I am, let me just give you a little brief on me. I'm a retired animation director at this point. My name is Leonard Robinson. Some people call me Big Daddy. Don't know where that got started, but I stuck. And I've been in the animation business. I've been in it for over 40 years. I've worked at pretty much every major studio, and I've worked with some of the most talented people all across the board. I couldn't even begin to enumerate the people who have had a grand influence on my life. Some of them I'll name: Glenn Keane, Dan Haskett, Richard Williams, Chuck Jones, Walt Disney, of course. I came into the animation world at a time when a lot of the older animators all across the board, from not just from Disney, but MGM, Hanna-Barbera, all those were a lot of them were getting older, and a lot of them were retiring. Some of them actually had their own studios. It was a very different time to come into the animation world. And as a young person, I came into the business when I was 21 years old. And when I first moved out here to Los Angeles, there were a great many small animation studios that were actually run by artists. So it's a very different environment from what is going on today. We are now in 2025, and my understanding is that the industry, of course, is quite different from when I started. The video that I'm going to work on here today, the reason why you see a nude over here on the side, is because I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about life drawing. Life drawing was something that was very much a requirement in your portfolio when I came up as an artist. And I went to school, went to an art school. Well, it was a liberal arts school. I went to, initially from Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to Georgia State University and got my training to be an illustrator, which is what I thought I was going to do as opposed to being in animation. And so I took a lot of life drawing classes. When I came out here to Los Angeles, I discovered that that was a major part, should be a major part of your portfolios, life drawing. Now, just to sort of give you just a sense of what's what I think that's particularly interesting about life drawing is that while a lot of people would say, well, why do I need to learn life drawing? Because I'm going to draw cartoons. Valid question. Well, I would say that probably the most important thing about it is you develop a discipline and you develop structure in your drawing. You learn to construct things in a very methodical way. You get a lot of information about anatomy and about um, gesture, and there's so many things that you get from drawing from life, and it's just invaluable. Your skills as an artist, your ability to draw, I believe, is vital if you want to be very successful in the business. The reason being is that, sure, it's easy to trace over photographs and it's easy to ape other people's styles, and all of that is fine and dandy, but the reality is that what makes you stand out is your raw ability to draw and create. Back when I came into the business, because artists were looking at your work and hiring you, they would hire you based on your skill as an artist, or the development to where you were. And I found that to be very helpful because everything you didn't know about animation, you could learn in the studios, and the studios saw the process that way. Young folks today and a lot of professionals, sadly, are having to take a lot of tests to be tested to be in animation, which in my opinion is ridiculous, because what would then be the purpose of training and developing a portfolio or a website if you're going to test anyway? That to me makes no sense. When I was a director, I hired people myself, and well, some of the time I did it, and I was always impressed with people who had skill already. And this is something that you should be developing in school, but a lot of times the schools don't always make a crossover for you to get from school knowledge and instruction in art to professional or commercial art. I didn't get it either, but the ability to draw, working and doing life drawing was one of those things that actually helped me to span that divide. So I'm giving you this little lecture at a time to say that it is an invaluable knowledge to be able to draw from life. It is an invaluable knowledge to be able to study anatomy and life drawing. Just absolutely invaluable. The more skilled of an artist you are, the more likely you are to work. Now, of course, the industry is very different now, and my understanding from what I've been hearing is that it isn't going to be about skill. There's other things involved, and I understand that, and I won't get into that. However, I do believe that if you have the skill, you will be noticed. I've been retired now for 5 years, since 2020, and I haven't looked for work, but I've been constantly, my LinkedIn page gets hit all the time, and I'm even asked about, my interest in working on a project from other people who I don't even know. And I assume it's because they hit my site, they look at my website, or they see my work, and I guess they like what they see. And when back in the day when I was learning and developing and learning, and I was a novice, I had what I felt were some pretty decent samples, and evidently I must have, because I got into Disney that way. My first job was with Ralph Bakshi, who I owe a great deal to. He was the first person to ever hire me in this business. But I've worked for every studio, pretty much every studio, and Richard Williams, I think, was one of my great mentors, though I didn't work with him directly very much. There were a lot of really talented folks. Eric Goldberg I met, who I just felt was an amazing artist. Anyway, so I should make a video and talk about all that. But anyway, so I guess what I'm really wanting to get to make a point here is that the more solid of an artist you are, the less you have to be concerned about people noticing whether you could do a job or not. And that confidence is invaluable. And people see it. I think your work should speak for itself. Let me just say that. As a teacher now, and I have been a teacher for quite a number of years, I sadly have to say a lot of the people to work who I see, some folks contact me and they show me their portfolios, and I'm very, well, let me just say I'm a little troubled that the level of drawing is just not there, and I have to fault the teachers in the schools for that. I have to fault the education system, which sadly has not been very good on any level, for that matter, certainly not artistically. So a lot of you young folks are just completely unprepared. There are some of you who I think I've seen some people's work who are very good. A lot of the folks that I see that go to the Lightbox Expo, a lot of those young folks are really quite good, and they have at least a certain level of skill that shows that they know what they're doing. But like I said, as an old guy in the business, all I want to do is help you young folks or anybody else, just to share what it was I did, and if it's of any help to you, by all means, I use it. So anyway, after that long speech, how long was that speech? Sheesh, almost 10 minutes. All right, well, anyways, I'm going to draw this image that you're seeing here. What I'm doing here, I'm putting it up on this side, but I'll move it so that I'll be able to draw in this area that you're looking at. So, yeah. can get my table up here where I need it. All right, Dan, let's see. So I should be able to, at least I think I can move this. All right. Hello. Why am I not being able to move this? I don't know. Okay, well, I got rid of it. I don't know what happened there. Let's see. Well, I think you're still going to be able to see me. Hang on a second here. Let's see. Ding, ding. All right. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah, I think that's going to work. All right. Well, I guess I'll do it like this. Okay, this should be fine. All right. All right, so anyway, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So you saw the image that I had up. I have it in front of me where I can draw. So now when I'm working on an image, a life-drawing image, I usually like to, because I know anatomy somewhat, fairly well, I guess, I generally tend to think first of all of the torso of a figure. And I like to get the overall forms. So I usually kind of work on the outline of the form. So I look to see, like, how can I get that outline working? And I like to make sweeping lines to indicate what things are. So, you know, I like to put bold lines in because I think the bold lines they work better for me. Now I like to connect things, you know, if I see the torso going away a certain way here, you know, I try to like strengthen that in as much as possible. So, you know, whatever I can do, you know, the head, I try to see around the form. You know, I try to imagine the other side of something when I'm drawing it, because it just helps me to get a better grip on the drawing. Okay. So like here, now, you know, she's standing, so the thing I want to do here is I want to make sure that I always go for the support. You know, she's standing, so I want to make sure that I'm looking at the straight line that's going down through her whole body, you know, to the foot. You know, so I want to make sure I think having that balance is so important. And then the other leg, you know, because it's not being as much of a support as the first one, I draw that secondarily generally. Now on the foot, I like to try to sometimes imagine how the foot turns if there's a slight change on the toe or something. I try to create a little bit of a twist on stuff. So now you can see what I got going here. I'll bring this in a little bit. So make that smaller. Okay. Then, yeah, and so really just with, you know, if I'm looking at this, just the basic design here, I'll put like another layer on top of this. So I'll do this. And I'll put a light here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to say, let's look at, I'm going to jump back here a little bit and pull up a color line. So, you know, when you're looking, initially when you're drawing, you want to think about a line of action that runs through the character. So like that runs from the top of her head right down through her buttocks, right out this way. Then you have here the flat where the pelvis is, And then you're going to have his leg going straight down. And then you have another leg going out this way and doing that. The arms are kind of going around. You know, the back of the spine is here, and the arms are going around like that. You want to kind of think of directions with lines. So I draw little arrows here to just sort of indicate direction. When you have that direction working for you, it can be very, very helpful. So like I'll just move this off to the side for a minute so you can see it next to the figure. So you see how I have those directional lines. When you see people drawing a figure, you know, especially if it looks like they're just drawing it and they, you know, they're just good at it, there's a lot of stuff that you're not seeing. But, you know, getting a gesture is always like the thing that they talk the most about. And gestures, primarily, you're getting, you know, you're doing stick figures that are showing movement. So that the idea is that you're sweeping, your line is sweeping. You want a sweeping kind of feel. And so actually, you know, even if you're doing, say, little stick figures doing this, you can do some stuff out of your head this way, where it's just sweeping lines. Sometimes that can be the easiest way to get started. So like I did those little scribbles there, and you can see I'll move this, you know, because my head's in the way. Move this one over. Okay. So you see what I'm getting at there, you see. And I'll bring this image back. I think I can bring it back. Let me see. Yeah. So you can see that was the original image there. So you can see how I drew that and how that fits, right? Okay. So anyways, the more, you know, I guess the main thing that we want to get across here is that the more you practice your drawing of a figure, or you know, of drawing from life, it's a discipline. And of course, you know, I'm just giving you a little something here to think about. But there's so much more that you're going to have to do on your own. Now, the beauty of it, folks, once again, is that there's plenty of information on the internet and right here on YouTube, in fact. So I would encourage you to take the opportunity to benefit from it. There are a lot of really nice art courses and things that you could take that I think would be very, very helpful to you. I would certainly highly recommend them myself. If you go to New Masters Academy on YouTube, they have life drawing images. They pull up images. In fact, that image that I showed you is from New Masters Academy. And what they have on there is they'll have a course. I don't know if I call it. Well, I guess it is a course. But they show the nude figures, and you can draw at home on your tablet and on your sketchbook or whatever, and draw these. And then they'll do things like they'll give you 1-minute poses, and they'll give you 2-minute poses, and they'll give you longer poses. And usually their videos are usually anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long, something longer sometimes. But that's a real good way. If you don't have money for a life drawing class, you can do that. You can use that. You know, if there's interest in this, I'm kind of thinking there might be. I will take the time to put more videos up like this that might hopefully, as I said, be helpful to those of you who are interested. But I would encourage you all, young folks, and even some seasoned professionals that want to sharpen themselves. Not that I'm some great artist myself, but it's just a a desire to share, a desire to help. Okay, and if I can do what I can do to help, I just know that my experience has been good. I've worked very consistently for the 44, 45 years in this business that I spent. I never really had very much trouble getting work. And I believe I can attribute that to the gift that God gave me as an artist. But that's something that I also still had to sharpen and develop. It wasn't something that I could sit on. I had to keep working, and I draw all the time. I also would encourage you to follow a few other friends of mine who are great artists. There's so many. But I want to particularly mention Steven Silver, who I think is an excellent artist. He has a school. You should, and books and things. You should definitely um, take some of his classes. I do have a sketchbook myself, which I don't have one in front of me here, but maybe in the next video I'll show you. And if you're interested in purchasing it, I'll be happy to send you one, signed one with my own personal drawing in it, if that's something that you would like. Also, Sheldon Borenstein, who is a fine anatomy teacher. Sheldon was the person that actually got me to be a teacher, and he's a fine teacher himself. He has a YouTube channel as well, and I believe he has a YouTube channel. I think he was on New Masters Academy for a while. I mean, maybe he doesn't have a channel, but anyway, he's on Instagram. Sheldon Borenstein, excellent anatomy. If I were going to take an anatomy class, I'd take it from Sheldon Borenstein. Sheldon actually knows more about the muscles and bones in the body than I do. And I'm much older than him, but he's very good at it. He studied under Glenn Vilppu, who clearly is like one of the best. And Vilppu is pretty much a protege of Bridgman. So, anyways, so much I could say about this. Anyway, have a beautiful day. Enjoy your opportunity to draw and create. Don't ever stop. Look for every opportunity you can to be creative. Don't take being creative for granted. I am been known for being the kind of guy that carries a sketchbook with him everywhere, and I still do it. I've been doing it for years. I mean, I'll be in my 70s. I'll be turning 70 this year, and I carry sketchbooks around all the time. You can't draw too much, and I think the more drawing you do, the better you're going to be. I never assume that I've arrived anywhere. I just keep working. So, all right, enough lecture, and I hope you have a beautiful day. And don't quit. Whatever it is that your dreams are as an artist, definitely pursue that and don't stop. And for those of you who are coming to the animation industry, I wish you the best of luck. I know lately has been a fairly frustrating industry. And I guess what I would say to you, a lot of you young folks, especially those who are quite capable, I would say do your own stuff. I've been saying this for a while. The animation industry is open enough. There's opportunity now, I think, for anybody and everybody to just start their own thing. And so I would encourage you to do that. All right. Have a beautiful day. And don't forget, Jesus is Lord. Get to know him.